Hello, in today's video I'm going to talk about my elbow injury. So it was a couple of months ago that I started experiencing elbow pain. The precise location is around here, so very close to my elbow joint in my right upper arm, just beneath the medial head of my tricep. Now what's interesting is that I'm able to perform heavy compound lifts, bench press, tricep dips and push-ups, even shoulder press, any moves involving the elbow joint. All of those I could perform fine. I could push myself to failure and I would never feel any pain. However, whenever I performed single joint exercises, isolation exercises, like the overhead extension using a dumbbell, or the rope pushdown using only my right arm, or even skull crushers, that is where I'd feel pain the most. Now my gut feeling is that the pain is around a tendon, which basically attaches your muscle to bone. And the reason why joint injuries take a really long time to heal is that there is poor blood supply, there's very little blood circulation in and around those areas. It just simply didn't get any better. So I decided to seek medical attention. I went to Brummengräd Hospital, and the first doctor I met with last week, he conducted a couple of movement tests just so he was able to pinpoint where my injury is and understand the nature of the pain a little bit better. Now I should mention this was after I gave him a bit of context, so all the things I just told you in this video here regarding heavy compound lifts, no problem, single joint exercises around the elbow, massive problem, because that's where I feel the pain. So I'm not going to go into all the details and every single move that I did with the doctor, but I'm going to go over a couple of them. So he gripped my hand like so, and then he told me to supinate, which means point the palm facing up, and I told him nope, that was no problem. This time he told me to pronate my grip, which means palm facing down. Again, no problem. And then what he did here was he gripped this side here and told me to push out. So basically I'm externally rotating my shoulder. He's applying force here. I told him no problem, I don't feel any pain. And then he did the same thing on this side and told me to push, so internally rotate my shoulder like so, no problem. So at this point he was able to identify that luckily the injury that I have is not tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, which are two very, very common injuries surrounding the elbow joint. Tennis elbow is basically pain outside of the elbow in this region here, and golfer's elbow is pain on the inside region of the elbow. So I believe the official term for that, if we want to get fancy, for tennis elbow is lateral epicondylitis, and for the golfer's elbow it is medial epicondylitis. So the next step was to do an x-ray, and as you can see from this video, there is a bit of an irregular shape with my ulna, the very tip of the ulnar bone in my forearm. So this was last week, and fast forward to this week, I got a bit of physiotherapy. I went to the same hospital, so I gave him a bit of context again, like I told the previous doctor, and then he started gently but firmly kind of thumbing my elbow joint just to try and pinpoint where the pain was. So eventually when we did identify where it was, he marked it with a pen and he told me to rank the pain out of 10, 10 being absolutely excruciating. And at this point I told him it's probably a 7, no pain, but it's only when I'm applying a bit of force to this outward movement. So if I have to push my hand away, that's where I feel a bit of pain. Now he started applying treatment to just beneath the medial head of my tricep. He told me to do the same movement and push out and rank the pain out of 10. And I was like, whoa, I did it again, and the pain had significantly reduced. I gave it a 3 or 4 out of 10. From this, he was starting to realize that it might be down to a bit of muscle numbness as well as pain in the tendon. So after he applied pressure to my bicep, he asked me to rank the pain out of 10 if I push my hand away. And lo and behold, I would give it a 0. The pain had completely subsided at this point. So long story short, he came to the conclusion that for me to actually treat this slight niggle that I have, a bit of arm massage or numbing consistently every single day is something that I can really benefit from. I told him a couple of the rehab stretches that I'm doing whenever I'm in the gym or I've got a bit of a break in between shifts. I'm actually doing a bit of elbow extension using a resistance band. I told him this was actually improving. He said, okay, perfect, listen to your body, try and do those a little bit often, because as soon as you do that, I'm able to perform tricep exercises with no pain. So bottom line is my rehab now is going to consist of slow and controlled stretches in addition to strength training. Now, I spoke to the physiotherapist, I spoke to the doctor last week. Am I doing too much in the gym? They both said no, and that lifting weights is the best thing that I can do to ease the injury. You see, a lot of people make the mistake where they've got an injury, they'll do absolutely nothing. And I can assure you this is one of the worst things that you can do for your joints. You know, constant movement. If it's controlled and it's slow and it's not beyond, 70%, then I would say this is absolutely fine. I think there's a very fine line between doing nothing and lifting too heavy and doing too much too soon, because the fear is that it's going to aggravate the pain. So yeah, for the next few weeks, I'm not going to stop resistance training. I'm going to keep going, but I've been very fortunate with injuries throughout my entire life. I would say this is definitely a warning sign for me to take things a little bit slower. And the doctor and the physiotherapist actually said it's lucky that it's just my elbow joint, because people who get pain in the arm, the injury is usually around the shoulder or the wrist joint. Elbow injuries, as far as they're concerned, is not very common. Certainly with big compound lifts, the injuries tend to be around the lower back or the knee. The knee is a very common injury spot, so I'm a very lucky person. Sorry for the long video, this is me kind of rambling on and saying how the whole process went, but I hope you got some value or information from this. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like, and see you next time.